What is up, everybody? Welcome back again. And let's talk about Dallas Steelers last night. And before we get into that, if you haven't already, make sure to share, like, and subscribe. And turn on notifications so when content's coming out, you can see the new content. Duh. Okay, let's get into last night. Cowboys problems confirmed, even in a win. Yes, absolutely. Let's talk about what I think is the most troubling thing for Dallas. And one of the things I think is probably going to be the most controversial. I know there's going to be a bunch of people in here. Oh, you're crazy. What are you talking about? Micah Parsons is the problem with the defense. I'm just going to let that settle for a minute. Micah Parsons is the problem with the defense. Now, before you lose your shit, let me explain why. The reason why is, one, Micah Parsons is wildly overrated. He has never, at any point in his career, had an impact like TJ Watt on a football game. He has never, at any point in his career, looked like Myles Garrett or TJ Watt or Nick Bosa or any of these guys. He's not a dominant player. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, and I'm sure you're all losing your minds right now, here's the reason why Micah isn't a dominant player. Because he absolutely could be. He has the athletic ability to do it. One is he's too fucking distracted all the time. He's too distracted, and he has no self-accountability. Oh, there's guys that are doing this. He's always pointing the finger at everybody else. When you go back and look at tape, and Micah's the problem. So how is Micah the problem? Problem number one, I've been saying it. Go back, look at other videos. I've been saying it for years now with Micah Parsons. He's too fucking small to be an every down defensive end. Jordan Love was on his podcast talking about, man, you guys got safeties playing linebacker and this and that. You guys got a light box, so we just ran at your light box. Micah Parsons is part of that light box. Micah Parsons is part of that problem. And what we saw early in the year against Cleveland was we saw Nealand, the rookie, get a lot of run at defensive end. Mike was getting moved all over to use in that double A mug, which is one of the looks for Zimmer's defense. And you notice they didn't run well at all. And I'm not saying that it's not partially because Cleveland isn't as good as we thought they were. That's absolutely true. But the other part of this is the fact that against the Saints and Baltimore, you had Micah Parsons as essentially an every down defensive end. And when you have a guy who's 30, 40 pounds undersized to be a defensive end, you're going to create run lanes. You're going to create problems. Micah Parsons is one of the worst run support defenders in the NFL. And I'm not being mean to Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is a sack specialist only. That's all he does. And the reason that's all he does is because they keep trying to pretend that he's a defensive end. Now, am I going to sit here and say that you couldn't throw Micah Parsons at defensive end on third and longs when you're trying to create pressure at the quarterback? Absolutely, you should be bringing pressure with Mike on those passing downs because he is a fantastic pass rusher. Is he TJ Watt? Is he as good as people say? Absolutely not. Is he top 10? Yeah, he's a really good pass rusher. And you should be using him in those situations. But he would have a massive impact on the defense if he was playing linebacker, where he could use his athleticism to chase down ball carriers, fill gaps. Plus, moving him at linebacker, you can blitz and rush linebackers. It keeps them confused. They don't know where he's coming from. Is he going to blitz? Is he going to drop into coverage? Puts pressure on offenses and confuses them. He should be a chess piece. He should not be masquerading as an every down defensive end. He's not. So now that we got point one out of the way, he's too fucking small to hold up in run support. You put a 370-pound offensive lineman coming around pulling and hitting Micah Parsons, he's going to get put on his ass and pushed around. He can't hold up in rundowns. at defensive end. He's too small. He should be playing linebacker to use his skills, his athleticism to chase ball carriers, not his undersized ability to fight guys 3 times his size. Point 2, and this is a huge point. When you go back and watch film, especially like from Baltimore and New Orleans, this is what I talk about where Micah Parsons doesn't have any accountability for himself. Micah Parsons never follows his assignment. Micah Parsons never fills his gaps because, like I said, he's a sack guy. All he wants to do is chase sacks. All he wants to do is just get his pass rush win rate up. Meanwhile, he's abandoning his lane and his contain responsibilities, and et cetera, in rundowns. Because he wants to chase the quarterback, he'll cheat inside. And then as he beats him inside, well, you just left a gashing hole that the running back's going to run through for 15 untouched now because you're trying to chase sacks and you're trying to chase numbers. You're not doing your job. You're not filling your gaps and you're not filling your lanes and you're not controlling the outside and you're not dictating contain. That's one of the biggest problems with this run defense. If you notice, the teams that run it down our throat, they run at Micah Parsons. San Francisco talked about it. We run at Micah Parsons. Buffalo ran at Micah Parsons. Green Bay ran at Micah Parsons. New Orleans ran at Micah Parsons. Baltimore ran at Micah Parsons. You picking up on the trend yet? Because they know he's undisciplined in his rush technique. He's undisciplined in run support. He will block himself. He will create run lanes for you as he's trying to go get a sack when it's actually a run play. It's, oh, fuck. And then he's pushed around because he's undersized. And I know you guys say, Micah Parsons is awesome. And he's one of the best defenders in the NFL. No, he's not. He's one of the better pass rushers. He could be one of the best defenders in the NFL if he was playing linebacker, doing the things that he does well. Chase down ball carriers, create havoc with his athleticism, and then being a substitutional pass rusher on passing downs, 3rd and longs, even 3rd and mediums at times. At that point, would he be impactful? Yeah, sure. Is he impactful being an every down pass rusher? No, absolutely not. So, and if you don't agree with this analysis of Micah Parsons, honestly, I don't care because you're just flat out wrong. We've seen 3 years of Micah Parsons playing defensive end, and it hasn't really gone as well. If you ever noticed, the best year of Micah Parsons was his rookie year, where Dan Quinn was using him a lot at linebacker and blitzing him almost exclusively at linebacker. They used him very little at defensive end. Everybody was, oh, make him a full-time, make him a full-time, make him a full-time, because they thought he could be like a Von Miller, and he's not. He's not big enough. And every year he plays more and more defensive end, the run defense gets worse, and Micah Parsons becomes less impactful, and we see him in more and more games be a no-show where we got to put on APB to fucking find him. Yeah. You think I'm wrong? Okay. That's fine. Let me know when you're ready to come join me in reality that Micah Parsons is not the answer playing defensive end. He's not. He's part of the problem. He's one of the biggest problems in this defense, which why, once again, what did we find yesterday? The entire defense is hurt and they look better than they have all year. Why? Because Overshown is actually the best player on this defense. Demarion Overshown is a spark plug, a hitter, a thumper. He is the actual best player on this defense. And that's what Micah Parsons should be with his athleticism, is Demarion Overshown. This is what he could be at an even higher level, is Demarion Overshown. Not just another guy getting bulldozed in the run game. So, anyway, the other side is, why did the defense look better? Everything we just talked about, these guys are following their assignments, they're filling their gaps, they're making sure they're following their responsibility and run fits. And the Steelers, who we know can actually run the ball. They're not a great offense, so don't get me wrong. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, the defense is back. Steelers aren't that good offensively, but we know they can run the football. And we know Harris can run the football. And they held them to basically nothing with fourth and fifth stringers because Mike Zimmer's really good and the scheme's really good when you actually do what you're supposed to fucking do and don't fight against the scheme and put yourself out of position, which then causes a gap to put somebody else out of position, which then coughs up big gashing plays, aka Alvin Kamara, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. Other talking points for Dallas. You should absolutely be going after Davante Adams. What the fuck are you doing? Not going after Davante Adams. If you're watching that game last night after scoring only 20 fucking points and thinking, we don't need Davante Adams, you're out of your fucking mind. Not to mention, what kind of stress would that put on the defense of CeeDee Lamb on one side, Davante Adams on the other side? Who are you going to single coverage? Who are you going to man up in that situation? Because they're both toasting anybody in man. Also, it allows you to use Brandon Cooks in the role that he's supposed to be used in, which is a speed guy, a horizontal guy, a vertical guy, not a stop route slant guy. He's not a 6'5" physical receiver. He's a speed guy. It allows you to put him in the slot and use him on speed routes where he actually excels. And then you can actually get the Brandon Cooks that you signed up for when you traded for Brandon Cooks, because you can actually put him in positions and running routes that he actually does well. You can actually have him doing the things he does well versus trying to have him do things like he's a big body physical receiver like T.O. or CD or Davante or one of those guys. He's not. He's a speed guy. He should be doing a lot of the same speed shit that we saw tonight with Kevontae Turpin. That's the same type of shit Brandon Cook should be doing, not trying to pretend that he's 6'5". Also, Jalen Tolbert, because I know some of you will probably get in the comments, well, Jalen Tolbert was awesome, dude. He caught the game-winning touchdown, bro. You scored 20 fucking points. Jalen Tolbert proved that he can play in the NFL, which we kind of already knew. Jalen Tolbert can play. He's a good receiver. He's not a number 2. He's a number 3 at best. Some offenses maybe a number 4. He's not Robin to CD's Batman. He's not a legit number 2. So let's just get that straight. That's not what this is. So yes, you need Davante Adams. Yes, you need a fucking playmaker when you can only score 20 points. And yes, Dalvin Cook should be elevated from the practice squad. It's fucking time. Now, I know, once again, Rico looked great last night, man. Rico's the guy, dude. No, he's not. We've seen 5 weeks of Rico not being the guy. Also, was he good last night? Yes, sure. But it's also because they started to change the scheme and they started to get back into their creative offense and not do these inside zone runs. They had outside zone scheme, which is what Dallas has done traditionally for years under Jason Garrett and everybody else. And it's something that with like the duo blocks with Zach Martin and Terrence Steele coming off the edge, it's something Dallas does really, really well. And something that the roster and the personnel does really, really well. And Rico excels in that scheme because he's not a big physical thumping power back. Yes, he runs hard. He's big enough to be an every down back, but he's an outside slasher, more of a speed guy. So, can Rico be one of your answers at tailback? Yes, absolutely. But it's time. Dalvin Cook needs to replace Zeke on the active roster. It's time. Like, you're hoping that Rico can continue and the play calling can continue to produce what we saw last night in the run game. But on the other side, you need a Dalvin Cook to come in. You can't have Zeke running like 7 times for 10 yards. I mean, the dude's averaging like 1 yard a carry right now this year. I mean, it's time. We need to be able to get 3, 4, 5 yards with like a Dalvin Cook in the game when Rico's not in the game at minimum. And also on the other side is maybe Rico would end up in that role because according to Mike Zimmer, Dalvin Cook is the exact same Dalvin Cook he coached in Minnesota. He said Dalvin has not lost a step. He's still Dalvin Cook. Dalvin's telling us he's still himself. But I'll trust Mike Zimmer's word for it. Mike Zimmer coached him for like 6 years or something like that. And if he's saying he's the same Dalvin, I'm going to take his word for it. It's time. What the hell did you sign Dalvin Cook for? I know it's embarrassing to put Zeke on the practice squad or have him as a healthy scratch. It's embarrassing to do that with one of your Ring of Honor-ish great historical players. But that's why you should have never brought him back in the first place. Because you knew at some point you were going to have to embarrass him and take him off the field and not let him play because he can't play anymore. And it's time to put Dalvin Cook in there. What the hell did you sign him for if you were never going to put him on the active roster? It's time. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Make sure to share, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so when there's new content coming out, you guys can check this shit out. As always, thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate you spending 15 minutes with me and let me get on my soapbox for a minute. Until next time, guys, peace out.